The International Date Line is a line that splits the world in two parts. One part is called the Western Hemisphere, and the other is the Eastern Hemisphere. This line also marks the start and end of days on our calendars all over the world. When you cross from the east to the west, you immediately add 24 hours to your time and jump forward by a whole day on the calendar. Conversely, if you travel from the western side to the eastern side, you subtract 24 hours from your time and go back a full day on the calendar. This is why flights from places like Asia, Australia, or New Zealand on the western side of the line to North America on the eastern side create significant time zone changes and jet lag. The IDL is meant to be a straight line, but it zigzags, causing confusion and anomalies in various places. For example, it passes between islands that are just 2.5 miles apart geographically, but have a 21-hour time difference. It also separates islands 15 minutes apart by flight, but with a 24-hour time difference. Due to these zigzags, there can be 3 different calendar days happening simultaneously in different parts of the world. The location of the IDL is arbitrary and imaginary, based on Earth's rotation and time zones, with the prime meridian at 0 degrees longitude serving as a reference point. Traveling west across the International Date Line, IDL means you must reset your time by a full 24 hours upon crossing the anti-meridian, which is on the opposite side of the globe. The choice of where to place the prime meridian and its corresponding anti-meridian is arbitrary. Throughout history, different regions used their own reference points for tracking time. For example, the French used Paris, the Germans used Berlin, the British used London, and the Chinese used Beijing. This diversity caused confusion in international business and trade. In 1884, an international conference established a universal system, with Greenwich, England, as the prime meridian and its opposite side as the IDL. Despite this standard, nations have made unilateral decisions to shift themselves to one side of the IDL for various reasons. The Philippines, for instance, moved from being a day behind to the western side of the IDL, causing significant calendar adjustments. The IDL also ran through parts of the Russian Empire, separating Russian Alaska from the rest of the empire. In order to avoid having far eastern Siberia be in a different calendar day than western Siberia, and to keep Alaska in line with the rest of the Russian Empire, the Russians initially made the International Date Line, IDL, bend dramatically to the east, ensuring that all of Alaska remained to the west of the line. After the United States purchased Alaska in 1867, they moved the IDL westward, making Alaska entirely to the east of the line. Consequently, the IDL doesn't follow the 180th longitude line exactly, but zigzags to include all of Russia's territory to the west and all of America's to the east, avoiding splitting the eastern part of far eastern Russia. After World War II, the United States assumed control over the trust territory of the Pacific Islands, including Kwajalein in the Marshall Islands. To keep Kwajalein within the same calendar day and time zone as the U.S. Pacific Fleet's headquarters in Hawaii, the U.S. moved the IDL to the west of Kwajalein. After the Marshall Islands gained independence in 1986, they corrected the situation by deleting Saturday, August 21, 1993, from Kwajalein's calendar, moving it back to the west of the IDL. The International Date Line overall was shifted to follow the 180th longitude line, except for one notable exception involving Kiribati, an island nation. Kiribati's easternmost islands were shifted to the west side of the IDL, which now deviates significantly from the 180th line of longitude to include all of Kiribati to the west of the line. The IDL then continues east, going around Samoa, American Samoa, and other islands, resulting in some of these islands being 24 hours apart despite their proximity. In the 19th century, American merchants influenced Samoa to shift from the western side of the IDL to the eastern side to improve trade with the American West Coast. This change involved repeating the date of July 4, 1892, allowing Samoa to be only 4 hours behind California instead of 22 hours ahead. The Samoans experienced an interesting situation in 1892 when they celebrated the American holiday of July 4th, twice due to the decision to move from the western side of the International Date Line, IDL, to the eastern side, making their time zone closer to the United States. The political division of the Samoan Islands in 1899 saw the IDL remain west of the German-controlled islands, which later became the UK and New Zealand's joint administration and then the independent country of Samoa. However, the American-controlled part of Samoa remained under U.S. jurisdiction and continues to be an unincorporated territory of the United States situated south of the equator. Over time, Samoa's trade relationships shifted to New Zealand and Australia, causing them to miss out on 2 business days per week when the islands were on different days from their main trading partners. In response, Samoa changed from driving on the right side of the road to the left side in 2009, aligning with Australia and New Zealand. In 2011, Samoa made the significant decision to shift back to the western side of the IDL, allowing them to be closer to Australia and New Zealand and less connected to the United States. The transition took place at midnight on December 29, 2011, with Samoa moving forward 24 hours, skipping December 30th and starting directly on December 31st, effectively changing their time zone from being behind Sydney to being ahead of it, and also shifting from being behind California to being ahead of it. Meanwhile, American Samoa remains a territory of the United States, with the IDL running between the Samoan islands. As the IDL heads southwest, it keeps New Zealand's islands to the west of the line before eventually returning to the 180th meridian and following it down to Antarctica. While this is the current configuration of the IDL, it might be subject to further changes in the future, especially for places like the Cook Islands and Niue. These countries, in free association with New Zealand and non-UN member states, are east of the IDL, causing a 23-hour difference with New Zealand. To address this, there could be potential redrawing of the IDL to bring them to the western side and keep them within the same calendar day as New Zealand. In the future, the IDL might become even more complex than it is today.